I'm Jordan Von Erickson, and thank you for viewing. Thank you for all the support so far. Let's keep it up. We're almost at 2K views. So go ahead and introduce yourself and where you went, what years, whatnot. I know you, but the viewers don't.
Yeah, so I'm Nicholas Hennings.
You're cutting out a little bit. You're cutting out a little bit.
Is that better?
Yeah, it's better.
Okay. So my name is Nicholas. I used to go to SpringCreekLodgeAcademy. I was there from 2005, November 11, 2005 to March of 2008.
Okay. And did you get transported, or did your parents take you up there?
My dad actually took me.
Okay. How did that go? Like, walk us through your first day. What you remember?
When I got there, well, my dad told me I was going snowboarding for the weekend. So I was super excited. But then when I got to the airport in Seattle, I started looking through the bags for like a bigger coat because it was wintertime. It was November. And I asked my dad, I'm like, Dad, where's my jacket? He's like, I forgot that because I had to pack quick. So we'll get it when we get to where you're going. And I said, all right. And then so I started looking through all the other bags just to see if I could get something a little bit warmer to put on. And I noticed that none of my snowboarding equipment or skiing equipment was in the bags. And I said, where's all my stuff? And he said, like I said, I had to pack them super quick. So we'll just get everything when we get to the lodge. I'm like, all right. So then we were driving. I got there. And the first group of people I saw were a bunch of girls in uniforms, all walking in line, a heel toe, facing forward kind of thing.
Yeah.
And initially, I thought that it was, like an all-female group of girls learning how to ski or snowboard or whatever the deal was.
Yeah.
And then I got into the cabin. And they're like, you know why you're here, right? I'm like, yeah, I'm going snowboarding for the weekend. They're like, not quite. And then that's where things went all crazy. I was like, what are you talking about? And so they explained, and I'm like, I can't believe my dad lied to me. All right. Cool.
Yeah.
But, I mean, the first year and a half I was there, it was... and for the first year and a half I was there, I pretty much told myself, well, if my parents don't want me, I might as well enjoy it while I have the option. And so, well, I'm kind of forced to stay there. But so I had fun. I wasn't, following any rules. I was just doing what I wanted. And I kept staying in lower levels. And so after the year and a half, I was just like, you know what? I'm about to turn 18. I want to go home. And so I started working the program and whatnot, but then I graduated.
Yeah. Did you ever spend any time in like study hall or intervention or any of that?
Oh, yeah. I was in intervention a couple times. And then I was in, what was it? Yeah.
Study hall?
Study hall.
Yeah.
I was in there a couple times.
Okay. What family were you in when you got there? What family did they put you?
They put me in the Respect family.
Respect family? Okay. Do you remember who was family father during that time?
His name was Justin.
The guy who played the guitar?
Yeah.
Yep. Did you like him?
Yeah, he was actually really cool. Like he made the whole situation being there, a lot more fun. It was a lot more relaxed than I was expecting. But he was strict when it came to certain policies, but he tried to make it as friendly as easy as possible for each kid that was there.
Yeah, I got that same feeling from him. I felt like he actually, he might have cared a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think he did. Like honestly, okay, how long after you got there did it take you for you to realize that you were like, oh shit, this place is crazy?
Within the first month.
Within the first month?
It
What
was,
kind of, was it just time that showed you that, or was it like a certain incident that showed you that?
I mean, it was a mixture of a lot of different things. So at first, like, it was all the rules, regulations that they had in place, which I thought was kind of ridiculous. How, like, everything underneath the beds have to be leveled or layered. Um, just some, like, the rules. And then over time, it was how, like, the staff were acting, how, like, some of the rules would uh, some people would follow the rules, some people wouldn't. And but there's so many different variables of, if one person did the same thing as somebody else, they would have two different consequences. And so to me, it seemed so unbalanced, unequal, not equal for everybody. And it just, there was a lot of favoritism.
Oh yeah.
That's for sure.
Mm-hmm. For sure, for sure. I definitely relate with the favoritism, man. I dealt that, you know, a lot. There was like certain people in the family that would like be like, you know, the family father would take them under their wing. I was an honor
Right.
family, so I had Big Al. So like he like definitely, like, I love him, but you know, like he played
Yeah.
favorites, like he did. Like it's just a
Oh, yeah.
fact. Like there were students like you'd be like, oh, you know, you're one of my favorites. He'd straight say it, and so I definitely feel that. Let's see. When did you go through your first seminar? How long after you were there?
Oh, let me go back in time. I think I was there for 2 or 3 months before my first orientation.
Okay, so they had you go through orientation. I went through orientation as well before they changed it to discovery and straight discovery and then focus.
Yeah.
I remember. Yeah. Okay, what did you think when you went into like after your first seminar? Like, were you like, holy shit, this is fucking nuts? Like, did that like?
I honestly, like, I was just going through it just to see what it was all about. And after a while, I was like, damn, they're talking about some deep shit. And then I was already preparing myself for all the other seminars that were going to come into place. I'm like, well, if this is just orientation, just imagine what discovery or focus is going to be all about. And so, like, I already put myself into a mindset of, this is what I'm going to have to learn. So if I want to get the hell out of here, this is what I'm going to have to do. And so, in the orientation, to me, it was an eye opener. It made me realize that certain things that I was doing was related to my past trauma or childhood, shenanigans type stuff. But yeah.
For sure, for sure. Yeah, yeah. Orientation was crazy, bro. But I still think focus was the craziest. What was your experience
Oh
of
yeah.
focus, bro? Like the lifeboat in particular.
It honestly, it still sticks with me. Like, a lot of things about the program still follow me to this day. Like, I'm very particular on how my clothes are folded. How, like, if I have everything, like everything, it was really military style, uh, like, things that we had to do. But focus, um, that is constantly in the back of my head, where I think about my my I am statement. Still can't remember what that is, but like the uh, being a colorful butterfly, it made me realize that deep down inside my little what's the word? Uh,
Your magical child?
my magical child. My magical child is still in me. I just have to figure out how to bring him back out and how to still enjoy life but still be responsible. So and then being a color, because I'm very antisocial with certain people until I get to know you, and then my whole personality revolves or evolves with how long I stay with that person. Because at first I'm going to be very laid back and, keep the scene kind of situation. And then after a while, I start acting crazy and being like the true me, I guess.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I'm very, I try to just keep the scene and see how everything is, even if it's at work or at a new job, or if I'm out and about at a concert or wherever. I'm always seeing how everybody else is acting.
Before you associate with them or whatnot, it's kind of, I'm kind of the same way. Like, I'm an introvert. Are you an introvert, kind of, at first, would you say? Yeah. Same here, man. Maybe I feel like, well, first of all, like, me and you clicked pretty well in the program. Like, especially after I got on the upper levels, I felt like we were pretty good friends in the program.
Oh yeah.
So let's see. What about like what about runners? What do you remember about runners, man?
Oh God, that's so I always, like, in the back of my head was trying to figure out how can I possibly run and get away. But then I'm like, we're at the top of a mountain and I'm not going to really be able to go anywhere, or I'm going to get too tired. I'm going to get lost, or, looking at all the variables. But then when they had like the actual runners like trying to escape, I'm like, woo, let's see how far they can make it.
Yeah.
I'm like always trying to see, all right, if they're able to make it that far within this time limit, how far can I go within a certain amount of time? So I was constantly like planning, but never wrote it down because, that was a consequence for trying and planning your escape. But, and then when I was a higher level junior staff, like, it brought excitement to me. When
they would run?
When they were running, it would bring a whole lot of excitement. I'm like
excited.
Yeah, it's like my little.
Like excited for them?
Yeah, I get excited for both parts because they might be able to get a little bit further away, but I also get away from the whole program and out in the woods and nobody really watching me.
Yeah, it's crazy. Do you remember? I know you were on upper levels and whatnot. Just for the viewers, like when there was a runner, we all went after him, huh?
Yeah, if you weren't working a shift or working with the family, then everybody that was still downstairs or available, they would be able to run after him, and whatever happens in the woods stays in the woods. So you could beat the brakes off with somebody and say, oh, they fell over a tree, but I don't think that really ever happened though. They all pretty much gave up.
I seen it happen. You remember the tall dude? I'm not really sure I want to say his name. Super tall dude that ran?
Oh yeah.
You know who I'm talking about, right? When he got captured with I think he ran with like one other person, those two got stomped. I know they did. But but like most of them just give up, bro. Like a lot of them will just be like about to get caught, and then they'll turn around and be like, okay, I'm good, I'll stop. Like,
yep.
Because they know what's about to come down. But shit, you remember Mr. Dave and Cliff and all that, right?
Oh hell yeah.
Dude, what was your experience to them, man? I loved Mr. Dave, honestly.
Mr. Dave was a different. I don't know. He was just different. He was a lot more mature. He was a lot more blunt with certain things. He would tell you how it is, and he wouldn't sugarcoat jack shit. Like, he would, if you were fucking up, he would let you know, hey, you're messing up. You need to quit doing that type shit. This is what's going to happen if you don't. And so he didn't, try to, oh, well, just try not to do that again.
Yeah.
But I I'm not too sure about the other guy. Like, I've probably talked to him maybe a handful of times, but
Yeah.
that was so. Who's the other guy? He had like red hair, red beard.
That was Cliff,
That was
right?
Cliff.
Cliff was the guy with the red hair. I think Wiggles and Cliff had red hair.
Oh, yeah, Wiggles. Wiggles.
Yeah.
That's who I was talking about. Yeah, he was funny as shit.
Yeah, he was hella funny. He was hella funny, bro. They were like polar opposites, bro. Wiggles was hella quiet and like fucking, or I mean, Mr. Dave was hella quiet and like withdrawn and like super direct, and Wiggles was like more out there and like
That
talking.
is so true. It was like a good cop versus bad cop.
Bro, do you think they did that on purpose?
I don't know, because I think Mr. Dave was in the military, so he's more through. He's a lot more reserved.
Yeah. Yeah, I always like. Go ahead.
No, it's but I mean, there's a lot of good things that happen for me personally at the program, but there's a lot of questionable incidences where, because if you look at the data, a lot of kids have committed suicide, which is such a sad thing because of the program and how it mentally and emotionally, spiritually, it drains the shit out of you. It's kind of like being in prison. Like, they're afraid to get out because they're so into institutionalized to where they believe that they don't know how to make it out in the real world. And so when people graduate from the program and go out there and then be kicked out of the house for whatever reason, they feel like they don't have anybody that they could talk to. And so that's the sad part about the program, is the sexual violence that happens, just the violence in general. Suicide is a lot higher in kids because they can go to a program. But to me, with the seminars, I actually took a lot of information out of them, and so I put them into my day-to-day life. Like, I try to look at the positives out of every situation, even if there's nothing that could possibly be great about a situation. It's a learning experience. So I learned not to do certain things because I know certain things will happen. And so, but but the truth about it is that my friendships that I've established in there was a lot stronger than most of the relationships that I've held on to after I got out.
I mean, me and you are still friends, bro, and it's been how many years?
Shit, like 12, 14?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like, like, you're one of the people, like, you're like Russell, like, you're one of those people I got close to, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's like the people that you make friendships with in there, like, your friends, like, unless something comes between it, like, I feel like you'll be friends for life type of shit. Like,
Oh, yeah.
because you guys seen each other at your lowest, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Like, you guys know each other, like.
I mean, their deepest, darkest secrets, especially from the seminars, and you're able to relate to them, and it's because you're also forced to be around each other, whether you like each other or not. Like, you have to deal and learn how to like somebody, whether they've done some stupid shit towards you or whatever. But the friendships that you could make there is a lot stronger than the relationships that I've made out of the program.
I definitely agree, man. I mean, I have maybe like one or two people on my like outside life that like are there, like, that I would, that I could call like at any time, you know what I mean? Like, talk
Right.
to them, like, that I know are there for me because I know who I am type shit. Everybody else just puts up this facade, I feel like. Well, not everybody else, but like a lot of people put up this facade, right?
It just seems fake.
Yeah, definitely.
It seems like they only want to be friends with you if you're able to provide some kind of service to them, and then once they get everything that they can, then they just dip out. But
Yeah.
people from the program, like, understand the struggles, because I mean, both of you are in that same situation where you've experienced a lot of the same shit, so you understand what the other person's going through. The other person will use whatever information they can against you later in time. I'm not saying everybody will do that, but it seems like the majority of people that have been in my life will use certain things from my past to benefit them, or use it to jab me later on in that relationship.
Oh,
And
yeah.
so
Mm-hmm.
but I mean, like I said, I try to look into the best of everybody. I give everybody the benefit of the doubt, but I'm not gonna be one of these people that will keep getting shit on, and still me running back to them and being like, it's okay, I'll let you know. Deuces, I'm out. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not dealing with it, and like, I don't have time and energy for that. So
For sure.
And I have to stay positive while everybody else or everything else around me is going to shit, because like the seminars say, and at the end of the day, you are there for yourself. Nobody else will, only you. When you're on your deathbed, everybody might show up, but they're not really.
They're not fully present and there with you in that moment.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? So let's talk about first of all, what's the craziest thing you saw there, and then what's like the most like positive thing that happened in there, if there were any. I'm sure there will be for you. But just like, and there can be more than one. Like, you don't have to just name one, but.
So the craziest thing is something that I was a part of. There was two people. It was two cabins. So we were on the top floor. So we would open up the middle door, and then one person from each room would go in and wrestle each other, whatever, and separate. And then the next two people would go and wrestle, whatever. And I remember specifically there was a time when I was wrestling with Brad Shaw. And this is the time I got sent to isolation or whatever. But we were wrestling, and I told him, I'm done. And so I started walking away, and I got shoved from behind, and my head hit the bunk bed. And you know how thick those wood planks were.
Yeah.
And so it hit my temple. And so I sat on the bed, and then Steve Jacko came up to me. He's like, bro, you good? And I'm like, yeah, I'm good. And so I got up, and I saw Brad Shaw, and I walked straight over to him and punched him. And it was so loud, and it connected so well that everybody from the Respect family came over to, I can't remember family, but they came all over. And then all of a sudden I heard self or staff corrected. I'm like, self. And that's when I went into, what was it? Isolation.
Intervention, isolation, whatever. Yeah,
intervention.
whatever. Yeah. Has a bunch of names.
And yeah, and then so I went there, and then apparently when I got out, Judy Peroni, or can't remember her last name, but she was the family mom.
Yeah.
And she came in, and she's like, well, Nick, I'm just gonna let you know there was no report filed, so you didn't lose any points, but just don't let that shit happen again. I was like, whoo. So I did get lucky on that part.
Yeah.
I've seen the talent shows were pretty awesome, like the Grease Lightning. There was like what's his name? Somebody was doing the E40 "Tell Me When to Go" song.
Oh, bro, I remember that. I remember that.
And then like just the whole playing basketball in the like gym area, or that room with just one basketball hoop. It was
the one up above from the store, like behind the Hungry Horse.
Yeah, the orange barn or whatever, or the red barn. that was fun. And then the craziest part to me was the fact that we weren't allowed to look, talk, or, even have any kind of communication with females, which definitely drove up the testosterone because a lot of those kids and teenagers were starting to hit puberty and starting to get crazy and mad, angry, or just emotional in general. And so there would be a lot of fights. And I'm like, I don't think this is really healthy.
Yeah.
But,
no.
But like the positive things that I've gotten out of it were like, it made me realize why I do certain things. Like, I've always questioned, why am I the way I am? But the program actually, if you really work the seminars or really pay attention, like, it will make you realize that every action has a reaction. And so and everything that I've learned from the program is something that you can utilize in the real world situation. And so it has definitely helped me more than others, because I know a lot of people are still suffering from PTSD from being in the program. But for me, like I said before, like, I try to look at all the positives out of any kind of situation. Yeah, it sucked that I was there for my teenage years. Like, I can't get those years back, but it was probably the most learning and the most knowledgeable experience that I've had, for sure.
Okay. Was there anything else?
No, I think that should, yeah.
Okay. Then I have a question for you then. Knowing what you know now, like, if you could go back in time, right, and not go to that place, would you do it?
No.
Or would you still go through it? Would you still would go through it?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm kind of on the same boat, but let me just paraphrase for people that me and him graduated the program. You graduated, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so we both graduated. So when you, in my experience, and this is just my experience, right? When you go through the program and you actually graduate, like, you were forced to see all of the bits of knowledge that the program has to offer. You become part of something, part of like different aspects of the program, and eventually become part of every single aspect, pretty much. Because when you're upper level staff, you start working at admin. Like, you had specific jobs, so you'd interact with the admin people, right? Or you'd be helping at Staff Central, or like you'd be working a family. So you got to see all these different aspects of the family. So, like, for people that graduate the program, usually they will, in my opinion, will not want to have erased that about their past. Like, yeah, it sucked, but I would go through it again, because I feel like personally it developed me into the man that I am today. Like, I know who I am now, type shit.
Precisely, yeah.
Yeah.
I fully agree with that statement.
Yeah. Let's see. Okay, knowing what you know now about the programs, is it your belief that the places that are still running should or even could be regulated, or do you think that they should be shut down? What's your opinion on that?
With the statistical aspect of it, I think they all need to be shut down.
Okay. Okay.
But, I mean, with certain things, because like in prison, things happen in prison that can't really control. But I think that the schools that are still open need to be fully regulated. And because they were hiring staff members that weren't even qualified to be taking care of patients.
Yeah.
And so they weren't suitable for the job, because they were just pretty much hiring anybody and everybody to fill in those positions. And so some of them weren't even all that great, like legal status. Like, there was a lot of because there was a lot of females that got violated one way or another there, because the background checks didn't show certain things. But I don't know. It's like I remember a time when there was cigarettes being passed around by staff members.
Okay, I think I remember that.
Yeah. And when I found out that there were cigarettes being passed out, I was like, why didn't anybody tell me? You know, a cigarette would have been great.
Yeah.
Like, that would have calmed my ass down tremendously. But at the same time, the person that was getting them, he was like, I personally didn't tell you because I didn't want you to ruin what you have going on right now, because you're moving up, you're trying to get out.
Mm-hmm.
And so I respect that. But at the same time, I was like, well, what about me? I want to smoke.
Yeah.
But
For sure.
Do you ever remember Nicole, the night staff?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
I do remember her.
She was cool. I remember.
Yeah, she was cool. She was really cool, bro. Shit, bro. What happened? Let's talk about reintegration into society, though, for a second. Like, what happened after you got out and you graduated? Did they force you to do a life contract type shit? Like,
yeah.
Okay, how long did that last for you? How did that go, man?
So I graduated a month before I turned 18. And so I was doing really well. I was going back to school. I was, following all the rules, like the contract. The contract that I've created fit both parties, so it worked. And then because I was having to go to like an alternative school, so it was all computer based. And since I wasn't passing my math, because math is not my strong suit, my parents thought that I wasn't going to school or asking for help or whatever the situation was. So they're like, well, if you don't pass that test, or if you're not going to school, you're going to have to get out. And I tried to explain to them that, hey, because I only had to be there for 4 hours a day. I was staying there for 8. I was asking the teachers for help as much as I possibly could, without trying to interfere with other people trying to learn. And so my parents said, since you're not going to school or doing this, they kicked me out. At that point, I was starting to get disrespectful. And so I was just like, you know what? Fuck it. Like, I don't care. Like, if you want to kick my ass out, kick my ass out. And, like, it is what it is. And so and then as soon as one morning, my parents just woke me up at like 8 o'clock in the morning. It was like, you got 30 minutes to pack your bags and get out of the house. And I said, how am I supposed to do that? I don't have anywhere to go. And they're like, well, you figure that out. And then I started traveling everywhere, hanging out with people from the program. And at that point,
I was surfing essentially.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. And it got me to travel, so I got to see the world and experience life as like a 18-year-old that's enjoying life and traveling and sightseeing. And so I took that positive out of that negative situation. So I got to travel. I got to see new things, got to experience new, life. And then after a while, like, just like in the program, I got tired of having too much fun. I had to settle down or, get serious about things. So I started working. I started getting doing what I had to be a successful person, one way or another, because I'm not going to let anybody put me down or tell me I'm not good enough, because I know I can do it. So I was proving everybody else wrong. And so, but it's the whole life contract. To me, like, part of it seemed really fake. Like, it was just like certain things, like, I agreed with, because, like, that's what normal or civilized people should do, per se.
Yeah.
But to me, it was more like me kissing my parents' ass just to make them happy and not get kicked out. But at the same time, I'm like, I got to do what I got to do to, hold on to what I got, because it wasn't a lot. And then ever since then, like, I just, my relationship with my family is just not the same. My mom, and majority of my family still thinks I'm doing what I used to do when I was 15. But if you really think about it, most 14, 15, 16, and 17-year-olds all go through the same, little rebellious time. Like, you could be financially stable and have a happy home, everything is perfect, but the kids are wanting to explore, experience life. So they're going to go out and do certain things that some parents don't agree with. But I don't think that certain things warrant to be going to a behavioral modification for troubled teens. Like, I don't like some 13 or 12-year-olds that were going.
Yeah.
Like, one little incident caused them to go to a program for like 4 or 5 years, or however long they ended up staying. But I mean, for each person, it's different. I understand that. But I don't know. I'm an adult. I get to do what I want now. Before I was a kid, I should have been listening to my parents' rules, or since I was living under their roof, I should listen to what my parents. And I agree with that statement. I should have been, respectful in doing what they asked, because they weren't asking for a whole lot.
Yeah.
But don't keep treating me because of my. Don't treat me the same because you think I'm still doing the same shit that I was doing when I was 15. Like, now I'm responsible. I understand that there's consequences for my actions with whatever situation. But it was a learning experience for both of us. So you learned something, I learned something. Let's agree to just work something out. But sometimes it just doesn't happen that way.
For sure. And sometimes people just gotta agree to disagree and move on with it. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, because you're not gonna change other people's minds, is what I found.
Right.
Let me tell. Since you graduated, you went through Trail of Lights then too, right?
What was it?
Trail of Lights, the graduation ceremony. Yeah. Okay, what did they have you do during that? Because mine was fucking kind of crazy.
So what they did at the Trail of Lights was they would have all of the kids from each cabin come out into the two lines, and they were facing each other. And then each person would have their own song, or whoever was graduating had their own song that they would play while they were being like crowd surfing all the way down the line. And so I remember being blindfolded. So you were blindfolded for, what was it, like
the entire day, right?
Yeah, pretty much the entire day, yeah. And so you would be blindfolded, and you would have to put your hand on the person in front of you's shoulder, so you rely or trust that person. So if there's like a stump in the like a log in the woods, then you would let them know there's kind of a wood without verbally saying it. And so you had to trust the person that was in front of you. So the blind leading the blind. Didn't really make sense to me, but hey, it worked. But and then after we did the crowd surfing down the line, everybody that wanted to say something to you or whisper something into your ear, they would come down and say whatever they needed to say, and then you would all go and be blindfolded and start walking at nighttime through the woods. And then we went down to the seminar building. And then we had a bunch of letters from people. We had, like, I guess the family was there or whoever showed up. It was bringing back a lot of memories.
Yeah.
And then what really hurt the most throughout the whole situation is I didn't get to talk to my sister.
You didn't get to talk to who?
My sister.
Oh, okay.
And so my parents didn't even tell her that they were taking me. It was a surprise to everybody except for my parents. And so she started acting out, doing whatever she was doing, because she felt betrayed. Because my question, the part that hurts the most is the fact that I was adopted when I was 4.
Yeah.
And then, so my birth mom didn't want me. My adoptive parents didn't want me. So at that point, I felt worthless and useless. And I'm like, and then later on, the longer I stayed there, I realized that I needed to love myself. And because myself, I'm going to be there at the end of the day and nobody else could show up. But I have to be perfectly fine with who I am as an individual. So if I can't acknowledge that I could be okay by myself, then this world's not a place that I could live in, kind of thing. So it was kind of forced for me to love, appreciate, cherish what I have done or completed. And I have a mission in life. I don't know what exactly it is, but I'm still here for a reason. So
For sure, man. Yeah, I think we actually clicked on this reason. I think you found out that I was also adopted in the program. Because I was adopted at birth. Man. Yep. So I had a lot of the same. When you're just saying that, man, I felt a lot of the same. I still feel kind of a lot of the same. Like, just like it's certain points in my life, I just feel like, that because my birth parents didn't want me, that I'm not, like worth anything. But definitely the program helped me with that, and definitely like I'm in a better place now. I got heavy into drugs when I got out of the program, and I did them for fucking years. And I was talking to you. I'm a year sober though. I just smoke weed now. So.
And congratulations. So yeah, we talked about prior that I almost died in when I was 28 because I was diagnosed with cirrhosis of the liver. Because ever since the program, when I graduated, I started drinking every single day. I mean, throughout the day, at nighttime, wake up in the middle of the night, have a nightcap, go back to sleep, wake up, do it all over again. And I would even drink at work. And then on top of all that, I was taking pills. I was doing, like, I've never touched meth, heroin, or any of those other hard drugs after I graduated. But I guess it was a lot of liquor that I was drinking and a lot of pills that I was taking that almost cost me my life. But when I was in the hospital, it got me to start thinking about my life is precious. Do I really want to die just yet? And that pretty much gave me a whole new perspective on life. I appreciate everything a little bit more. I try to be as kind to pretty much everybody until you do me wrong.
Yeah.
Be cool. Just, don't fuck me over. Don't treat me like shit. I'm not. See, if you act stupid, I'm going to treat you like you're stupid.
Yeah.
But at first, I'll talk to you and be like, and from my experience, this is what I've learned. You could take it or leave it kind of thing. But I don't know. It's a lot of different variables that when you are on your deathbed, you start questioning everything, and a lot of things become a lot clearer to you and what you want in your life and what you don't want. And so I'm not going to waste my time, energy, or whatever on people that don't deserve it or don't need my time or energy. So.
For sure, brother. I was gonna say I actually started making this podcast like once I got sober, and I'd been sober a while. I was like, I kind of want to do something to give back, and so I was like, this is something I've already had my mind on. So I decided, why not just go through with it. plus there was somebody else on, I think it was Facebook or whatever, that I saw a post of somebody literally posting about the same kind of idea that I had thrown out a couple months earlier. And I was like, no, fuck that. I was like, I'm going to act on this today. I was like, I'm going to open this podcast today because somebody's trying to steal my idea. And if you don't act on your ideas, somebody else is going to, you best believe. Like, if it's a good idea, like, so I made this podcast, and it's like, yeah, I've noticed over time that it does become draining just because I'm an empath and I feel everything. Like when somebody's telling me a story, like I take in like everything and like multiply it by how many ever factors or whatever. And so it is, I think it's good that I do only one a day, because I feel like if I did more than that it would be too much. But yeah, I definitely, man, for me it was like I didn't almost die, but I could have, like, literally, like, with the amount of drugs I was doing, like, I didn't ever overdose or anything like that, but definitely I could have been dead by now, like, for sure, with the amount of drugs I was doing, especially nowadays where fentanyls and everything. Like, if I was still doing drugs, I would be dead, I feel like. So, like, I'm glad I got out when I did. And
yeah, I'm proud of you, though, because I know with whatever you were on, it's a lot of people say it's not a mental disability, but it really is. Like, it consumes your brain. It rewires your brain for certain things. So it's just like if you smoke a cigarette, you're going to get addicted to it. So I have a very addictive personality, and if I enjoy the feeling of certain things, I'm going to continue doing it, even though I know, like, the bad aspects of it. It might kill me eventually, like smoking cigarettes, drinking Monsters or energy drinks aren't really fucking healthy. But to me, they're a lot better than me drinking liquor, and pretty much it's going to take a lot longer for it to kick in and do some damage. That's just me. I know that might not be true, but you get rid of one addiction and replace it with another thing.
Well, yeah, and it's like, to me, it's like which one is the lesser of two evils? Like, for me, it's like weed. You know what I mean? Like, people can talk shit about weed all they want, but for me, it's either I'm on weed or I'm on a bunch of pills prescribed by the doctor for my fucking mental disorder. Like, I could do one thing or I could do a bunch of pills. And like, and also it's just like, it's about harm reduction. Like you were saying, man, like that's a good, you know what I mean? At least you're not drinking alcohol every day. At least you're drinking energy drinks instead. It's harm reduction, you know what I mean? So that's good, man. Don't ever let anybody tell you that's not good.
Yeah, so it's I mean, yeah, it's still going to affect my body.
Yeah.
But it's because I know that if I start drinking alcohol again, I'm going to enjoy it, because people that say I'm going to go out and have one beer, they never just have one beer. They eventually start, they'll be like, at first maybe they might have only one beer and then leave, but then they up it just a little bit and be like, okay, if I'm able to handle one beer, maybe I could handle two beers. And then your tolerance level rises. So you're going to be like, yeah, maybe 3 beers. Let's try 3. And then if I go out of control, then I'll stick to 2. It never works. You have to literally tell yourself, the way that I did it, and it was from my boss at the time. He's like, if you really want to drink, tell yourself, wait 24 hours. And then within the 24 hours, if you want to drink again, drink. But do the same thing. I'll just wait another 24 hours. And if I really want to drink, I'll drink in the morning. And then tell myself that in the next morning, and then the next morning after that, and just keep doing it. And then after a while, your body and your brain already has been chemically engineered different, telling you don't need it. And so at that point, it becomes super easy, and you're just like, okay, well, that was easy.
Bro, tell me why. Dude, I got told like something like pretty much the same thing, except for when I was in rehab, it was one of the first days I was there, because I was still pissed off. I was kind of like halfway doing it. I was like 75% doing it for my mom at that point, and like 25% myself. And I hadn't really like fully come around to like really want to fully be sober yet. And so she pulls me off into the room because I was about to leave. I was like, man, fuck this place. And then she's like, pulls me out to the room, and she's like, look, this is how I do it, okay? Whenever I want to use, and I want to use like every day pretty much, right? Still. And I've had years sober though. She goes, this is what I do. I just give myself excuses why, look, I can't leave the house. Like, I want to get high, okay? I can't leave the house because I have a baby here. I can't leave the baby by herself. Keep on making excuses for myself, like to push it away. Because like within an hour or two, or like sometimes it takes up to a day, your brain will have rewired itself and then you won't want it.
Yep.
Like again,
Right.
like it's natural, it's like actually like chemistry there working. Like that's science.
Yeah. And it's just like the whole cigarette thing. Like, it's, if you go cold turkey, like, you're going to try to find any and every excuse because your life has been revolved, or if you eat, you smoke a cigarette. You take a shit, you smoke a cigarette. You are about to go to bed, you smoke a cigarette. And when you wake up, you smoke a cigarette. But you're going to try to find every excuse to just have one more cigarette, but that one more cigarette's not going to be the one last one, because you're going to say, well, I already fucked that up, so I might as well just keep doing it.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
if you just mentally tell yourself that you don't need it or don't want it, or if you really do want it, you just wait 24 hours and then think about it at that point, and because life might be different, because within the 24 hours that pass, things could go be from really shitty to really good. And guess what? You didn't ruin your sobriety, and you didn't ruin that. So, all right, well, let's see what the next day could offer. And you just keep moving and trying. Like I always said, you always have to find the positives in everything, because if you dwell on the negative, it's going to make you want to drink or make you want to do your the drugs or whatever you were on before. And it's not productive. It's not helping anybody. It's just pushing your family away. It's pushing you away from everybody else. And so at that point, you're just like, well, that just ruined my life, even though you're the one doing it. So it's not the drugs. You're the one that is mentally going for it, and giving yourself excuses to why you should do it, but not enough excuses why you shouldn't do it. So, I mean, sometimes it's like, it's right down the fucking middle. It's like, it's a catch-22. It's a goddamn catch-22. People are more willing to ruin their life because of the way it feels. But if you go cold turkey with, like, let's just say heroin, for example, you're going to have your withdrawals. You're going to feel like shit. You're going to feel like you're dying. But then after a while, you're going to start getting better, and your body starts rejuvenating and flushing out all that stupid shit. But your only really thought is in that time where you're feeling like shit, you're throwing up, you're having night sweats, you're crampy, your hands are sweaty and clammy or whatever, and you try to find every excuse to, let me just get my fix and I'll be fine. Yeah, you're fine for that little time until you start withdrawing again. And so if you just stay consistent and steer away from it and make every excuse why you shouldn't do it instead of why you should, then it's going to benefit you in the long run, and you're going to have a lot healthier relationships. You're going to be able to communicate, and you're able to trust yourself.
Yeah.
And so that's the biggest thing, is you have to trust yourself, because if you already go into a friend's house with the preconceived notion that, well, they're going to do drugs, I'm going to do them too, I'll be sociable and do it with them. And then that's where the problem starts. For pretty much everything is social in the beginning. And then when you start doing it by yourself, then that's when it becomes a problem. I mean, in general, I don't know. It's a complicated mess. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Like, so I just try to stay positive and, keep living life to the fullest and try to experience everything in the most positive way possible. Of course, there's going to be negative aspects to it, but I don't dwell on my past. I don't look back or regret anything. Like, everything that has happened in my life, has happened for a reason. And
Plus,
so
you can't change it. You can't change it, man.
exactly. And then my favorite saying that still sticks with me, and I pretty much say it every other day, is God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Because that is a
that's
saying
wisdom.
that has stuck with me.
That's wisdom, bro. That's wisdom.
Yeah.
For sure.
So I've not, and there's a lot of things that like I try to teach other people that I've learned from the program, and it actually gets them to realize that, like with the seminars, like it taught me a lot. So I try to pass it on to others. But the difference is I don't force it on them.
Yeah.
I let them know my experience and what it's done for me. And if you want to take it, cool. If it's not, cool. I mean, you are going to live your life the way you want to. And I don't expect anybody to try to control how I live my life. So it's like, I understand that there's like boundaries that people will have set in place. And that is perfectly okay. There should be boundaries with any kind of relationship, whether it's a friendship, relationship, them being your wife, your kid, coworker, boss, whatever. There should be rules that are set in place that both of you will follow. And if you don't, then there's consequences. There's consequences for every action.
Yep. Yeah, dude, I had completely forgotten. I've had a few times in my life where I've just been talking to somebody, bro, and they're just like, how do you know all this shit? Like, how does your mind work like this? And I'm like, bro, I don't even know where to start, bro. Like, I spent like.
Yeah, it's the program definitely, like for most people were so stuck in their ways, or they're so what's the word?
Well, the program would say in their image.
Yeah, and so they already are. They still hold on to they dwell on the negative sides of it, but I don't know, like I use whatever I learned. If it was positive, I'd take it with me. If it's negative, I leave that shit behind. I leave it at a dumpster. Somebody else can pick that shit up and take it to the dump site. Cool. It's not my problem anymore. Like, if it's not worth being stressed about, and if it's going to affect my health in a negative way, I'm not going to deal with it. So I try to stay positive, healthy, and do what I can to enjoy life as much as possible. But they're still holding on to the negative shit. Like, I mean, yeah, some people had it worse than others, and I can't really say anything about their experience because everybody's experience is their own. And so, but I just wish that whoever went through traumatic experiences from the program, works to learn something different or look at it in a different light.
Or just try something different. Try something different, because doing the same thing over and over again is by definition insanity.
Exactly. And so, I mean, everybody has a right to feel how they feel about any situation, but for me, it's not benefiting me if I'm constantly in a negative mood, because that ruins relationship. It just ruins who I am as an individual, because I don't want to be consumed with a whole bunch of hate, not being able to trust anybody. Like, the program really fucking it ruined me in the beginning. It's kind of like the army. If you think about it, they knock you down to build you up as a better person and a lot stronger than you knew, the kind of strength that you didn't know you had, you have now.
Yeah.
So it teaches you a whole lot of different things, but I don't know. So the program, it stays with me pretty much in my daily life. But I don't dwell on it.
Okay. what would you say, like closing thoughts, what would you say to anybody that was thinking about sending their kids to a place like this? Just what would you say to people in general that see this video? Maybe like the public that sees this video that doesn't really know about these places, maybe.
Do your research before you look at the pamphlet, because the pamphlet that they give you, it looks a lot better than what the reality of it. I don't know. Have open communication with your kids. Let them be honest with you without you judging or getting angry with them. Like, understand that kids are going to be kids. They're going to want to experience life, because the more that you tell a kid or anybody in general and that they can't do something, they're going to want to do it. They're going to want to be defiant and experience it. They're like, the smoking weed right now isn't all that bad. Let me try to figure it out. And then they start smoking weed. Cool. I personally, I love weed. I think everybody should be smoking weed. But to a certain extent, like, if it's starting to affect who you are or affecting your work or whatever, then that's an issue. But if they're, sneaking out the house, talk to them, be like, well, we could, compromise with your kid. And like, the kid should not be the one, making the fucking rules by any means. Nope. Fuck that. But just have an open line of communication where your kid feels comfortable enough to come up to their parents, because you are what they are looking up to. And so if you if you don't communicate, don't have any, if you don't follow through with consequences, because everybody nowadays, these kids are starting to walk all over their parents because the parents don't want to hurt their kids or hurt their feelings, or they want to be best friends with their kids. There should be like boundaries. Like, have rules. If they don't follow them, then there's consequences. But if they do good, they get consequences that are positive. Like, I don't know, just do your research, or try to figure something else out, because the program, for majority of the time, they ruin the kid instead of actually helping them. There's a few people that it actually worked or did something positive for, and I might be like one of the very few, but everybody else that I've noticed is either committing suicide, going back onto the drugs, not being able to trust anybody, not being able to communicate. They don't know how to, they don't know how to act because nobody's really teaching them. I don't know. It's just there's a lot of different aspects to it. Like, I would recommend sending them there, but at the same time, statistically speaking, it doesn't work for most.
Yeah.
Because they're just trying to be kids, and they're going to have a whole bunch of hate and animosity towards the parents for trying to fix them. They're not broken. The kids are not broken. There's something that in their life that was traumatic, where because everything for me started when my grandfather died. That's when I started sneaking out, starting getting disrespectful, starting to smoke weed, skipping school and all that, because I didn't feel like I had anybody I could truly talk to. And so that was because they say in the program, negative attention is better than no attention. And so that way I was getting some kind of reaction out of my parents, and like they cared. But it's just a line of communication is the biggest thing. Is if a kid doesn't feel comfortable or feel like they can trust being open and honest with the parent, and that's where everything else starts falling and getting destroyed. Because if there's no trust or communication, then everything else just goes down the drain and gets ruined.
For sure, brother. Well, definitely, bro. Are you down to a part 2 someday? After I write some stuff down that I remember, I want to talk to you about.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
Absolutely. Yeah.
For sure. Well, bro, thank you so much for coming on, bro.
Hey, thanks for having me.
It was awesome talking to you, bro. You look good, you know. Keep taking care of yourself, bro.
Yeah, you too.
For sure. All right, bro. Much love.
Much love.
All right, peace.